Well, staying in West Africa, the Burkina Faso government has clarified that it has asked ex-colonial ruler France to pull its troops out of the insurgency-hit country within a month. France has about 400 special forces soldiers in junta-ruled Burkina Faso, but relations have deteriorated and tensions have soared in recent months. Government spokesman Jean-Emmanuel Ouedraogo confirmed that the agreement, which allows French forces to be in Burkina Faso, had been terminated. He adds that this also ends diplomatic relations between Burkina Faso and France. Now, Global Affairs analyst Calvin Dark joins me now to unpack this. Calvin, good to see you as always. Many have accused France of interference in the internal affairs of Francophone countries on the continent. Let's hear your views on this.
Well, yes, good to be here. There have been several instances across the African continent, former French colonies, where there's a growing anti-French sentiment. And, it comes from several reasons. One of the things that I think about is there are a lot of unresolved issues from the colonial period that France has not addressed. And when they do try to have partnerships, security, for example, partnerships with former colonies, they don't treat them as allies and equals. So a lot of times it comes across as a parent telling a child what to do and what not to do. And of course, no country wants that and will accept it. And so I think that until France changes the way that it interacts and proposes to work with former colonies, we're going to have these issues. What's unfortunate is in the meantime, the security cooperation that is needed from France for the Sahel region is going to make the situation probably even more dangerous than it already is.
Now, let's drive it further, looking at the breakdown of diplomatic ties with Mali and the general anti-French sentiments in the Sahel. What does this imply for France and Africa relations?
Well, as I said, I think that they're going to need to rework how they propose to work with former colonies. Also, because France has interests in the region that it's trying to protect as well, which is why it's entering into these security partnerships. So what's going to happen, what France is going to have to figure out is how do they navigate these complicated relationships, these countries where their presence is no longer wanted, but they still need to be there to protect European French interests in the region. That's going to be very difficult, and it's going to take some diplomacy that we haven't seen from France.
Well, talking about which some analysts have also suggested that the exit of France and entry of Russia in the counterinsurgency operations in Burkina Faso could be a furtherance of the Cold War between world power, talking about Russia-Ukraine war.
Yes, those rumors that Russia, through its mercenaries, the Wagner Group, that they may try to fill in the void that France, may leave in Burkina Faso. It's very, very troubling because these security partnerships between Russia and African countries will not be beneficial in the long term for African countries for several reasons. And one of them is that if African countries get into bed, so to speak, too much with Russia, then any cooperation from the United States and Europe on security and other matters, it's going to be extremely difficult because of the war in Ukraine. So I hope that African countries will take a second look at whether or not the relationships with Russia and the Wagner Group are really worth it.
And will they pull out of the French troops? Because we already hear the UN is pointing to an escalation of the activities of armed groups around Mali owing to this pullout. Is this not an immediate and present danger for Burkina Faso and even other neighboring countries?
I think that at least for the short term, the very short term, over the next month, we're going to see the status quo. We have to wait and see exactly how France is going to respond, because one of the things that France may do is, instead of removing their troops from the continent, they can take the troops that are in Burkina Faso and relocate them to other places in the Sahel, like Niger, for example. And, they can conduct their counterterrorism activities from there. That would not be as beneficial as being on the ground of Burkina Faso, but it's a solution as opposed to just pulling all the troops out. But like I said, we'll have to wait and see exactly what France's exit plan is.
Calvin Dark, Many thanks for speaking with us.
Thank you.